All right, and here we are in the green room extension. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us. I am your host this week, REL Truth Seeker, and I have with me the beautiful local goddess, Rachel. Thank you for being here, first of all.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Today, what we're going to be talking about is the book Women Who Run with Wolves by, I don't want to not get this right, by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, a PhD. Miss Clarissa has gone in-depth analysis of several creative stories and the history that is kind of woven into fairy tales and how it relates to all women and the spirit in all women. We're going to start with chapter 1 today, which is the how. Resurrection of the Wild Woman. Oh my gosh, doesn't that just like get you ready?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's like if you weren't ready, you are now because
You are
it's
now.
like, oh, the resurrection. Where's she been?
Uh-huh. Exactly. Why'd she leave?
Why didn't she here?
Oh, exactly. Oh my gosh.
You know.
For real, for real. So this chapter we've already seen has two stories that Miss Clarissa is going to talk with us about. We're going to have Miss Rachel go ahead and read first. She's going to read the story. We're going to talk about the story, and then we'll keep reading the chapters and so forth and so on. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment. Share this around, and I hope you enjoy the conversation. So we're just going to get right in onto it. So, Miss Rachel, whenever you're ready, if you want to go ahead and open it up for us.
All right, thank you. All right. The Howl. Resurrection of the Wild Woman. La Loba, the Wolf Woman. I must reveal to you that I am not one of the divine who march into the desert and return gravid with wisdom. I've traveled many cook fires and spread angel bait round every sleeping place, but more often than the getting of wisdom, I've gotten indelicate episodes of Giardia E. coli and amoebic dysentery. Aye, such is the fate of a middle-class mystic with delicate intestines.
Oh,
Whatever wisdom or notion, like I love her. She's like
she's hilarious, right?
so honest. She knew what it was. It's a good time.
Oh, God.
Whatever wisdom or notion I espied on my travels to odd places and unusual people, I learned to shelter, for sometimes old Father Academy, like Kronos, still has an inclination to eat the children before they can become either curative or astonishing. Over-intellectualization can obscure the patterns of the instinctual nature of women. So, to further our kinship relationship with the instinctual nature, it assists greatly if we understand stories as though we are inside them, rather than as though they are outside of us. We enter into a story through the door of inner hearing. The spoken story touches the auditory nerve, which runs across the floor of the skull into the brainstem just below the pons. There, auditory impulses are relayed upward to consciousness, or else, it is said, to the soul, depending on the attitude of which one listens. Ancient dissectionists spoke of the auditory nerve being divided into 3 or more pathways deep in the brain. They surmised that the ear was meant, therefore, to hear at 3 different levels. One pathway was said to hear the mundane conversation of the world. The second pathway apprehended learning and art. And the third pathway existed so the soul itself might hear guidance and gain knowledge while here on earth. Listen then with soul hearing now, for that is the mission of the story. Bone by bone, hair by hair, Wild Woman comes back. Through night dreams, through events half understood and half remembered, Wild Woman comes back. She comes back through story. I began my own migration across the United States in the 1960s, looking for a settling place that was dense with trees, fragrant with water, and populated by the creatures I loved: bear, fox, snake, eagle, and wolf. The wolves were being systematically exterminated from the upper Great Lakes region. No matter where I went, the wolves were being hounded in one way or another. Although many spoke of them as menaces, I always felt safer when there were wolves in the woods. Out west and in the north in those times, you could camp and hear the mountains and forests sing, sing, sing at night. But even there, the age of scope rifles, Jeep-mounted clay lights, and arsenic treats caused an age of silence to creep over the land. Soon the Rockies were almost empty of wolves too. That is how I came to the Great Desert, which lies half in Mexico, half in the United States. And the further south I traveled, the more stories I heard about wolves. You see, it is told that there is a place in the desert where the spirit of women and the spirit of wolves meet across time. I felt I was onto something when in the Texas borderlands I heard a story called Loba Girl, about a woman who was a wolf, who was a woman. Next I found the ancient Aztec story of orphaned twins being breastfed by a she-wolf till the children were old enough to stand on their own. Might be interesting footnotes there. It sounds like another story.
Yeah, really, seriously. Definitely circling that footnote.
And finally, from the old Spanish land grant farmers and Pueblo people of the Southwest, I heard one-line reports about the bone people, the old ones who bring the dead back to life. They were said to restore both humans and animals. Then on one of my own ethnographic expeditions, I met a bone woman and have never been quite the same since. Allow me to present a first-hand account and introduction. That's just the intro to the story, and she's kind of setting you up to understand who the wolf woman, wild woman is. It's a great intro. La Loba. There is an old woman who lives in a hidden place that everyone knows in their souls, but few have ever seen. As is in the fairy tales of Eastern Europe, she seems to wait for lost or wandering people and seekers to come to her place. She is circumspect, often hairy, always fat, and especially wishes to evade most company. She is both a crower and a cackler, generally having more animal sounds than human ones. I might say she lives among the rotten granite slopes of Tarahumara Indian Territory, or that she is buried outside Phoenix near a well. Perhaps she'll be seen traveling south to Monte Alban in a burnt-out car with the back window shot out. Or maybe she'll be spotted standing by the highway near El Paso, or riding shotgun with truckers to Morelia, Mexico, or walking to market above Oaxaca, with strangely formed boughs of firewood on her back. She calls herself by many names: La Hucera, Bone Woman, La Trampera, the Gatherer, and La Loba, Wolf Woman. The sole work of La Loba is the collecting of bones. She collects and preserves especially that which is in danger of being lost to the world. Her cave is filled with the bones of all manner of desert creatures: the deer, the rattlesnake, the crow, but her specialty is wolves. She creeps and crawls and sifts through the montañas, mountains, and arroyas, dry riverbeds, looking for wolf bones, and when she has assembled an entire skeleton, when the last bone is in place, and the beautiful white sculpture of the creature is laid out before her, she sits by the fire and thinks about what song she will sing. And when she is sure, she stands over the creatura, raises her arms over it, and sings out. That is when the rib bones and leg bones of the wolf begin to flesh out, and the creature becomes furred. La Loba sings some more, and more of the creature comes into being. Its tail curls upward, shaggy and strong. And the loba sings more, and the wolf creature begins to breathe. And still La Loba sings so deeply that the floor of the desert shakes, and as she sings, the wolf opens its eyes, leaps up, and runs away down the canyon. Somewhere in its running, whether by speed of its running, or by splashing its way into a river, or by way of a ray of sunlight or moonlight hitting it right in the side, the wolf is suddenly transformed into a laughing woman who runs free towards the horizon. So remember, if you wander the desert, and it is near sundown, and you are perhaps a little bit lost and certainly tired, that you are lucky, for La Loba may take a liking to you and show you something of the soul.
Oh my gosh, isn't that so cool? Like, okay, so the intro and the story, like, I can't even decide which one we need to start with, because let's just start with the intro. Because let's just start with the beginning. We can go with the flow. Sorry.
Sure.
Wow. Okay, so we did mention earlier how we were like, we love her because she's so down to earth. She's like, I'm not no divine nothing. Like, I'm just a normal person, a middle class mystic with delicate intestines. I get in coli all the time. Oh, but then after that, she gets real serious, and she talks about, she says, over intellectualization can obscure the patterns of the instinctual nature of a woman. Like, how can you be so funny and then so like powerful, like in 3 breaths? I can't even. Like, that's why I love her writing so much.
And that whole thing is so, it's just such like a chunk of depth. Like, if you thought you were gonna go into the weight like baby pool and get in, no, she just dropped you 9 feet. Because to compare, to say that, you know, she brings up Kronos eating the children, and then that sentence, over intellectualization, that just tells you what she means. Like, when we over intellectualize, we're eating all the new thoughts that come up, everything that's birthing, everything that's trying to become. We're making a mess of it. We're destroying it. We're consuming it before it can grow into anything.
Wow.
That can be meaningful.
Yep.
I think that's a powerful sentence.
Very much so. Very powerful imagery, exactly. That really drives home, and like it makes you, gives you pause, makes you think. It's like, whoa. We're not just talking about, you know, feminism here. Right? Like, this is much more empowering, especially from a woman's standpoint, because it uses that language and that imagery. Kronos. Yeah, I was trying to remember. Thank you for reminding me. I was like, what? Where have I heard that? But she does use a lot of which I'm glad she does. I don't know if you remind me what it's called when you compare it to characters or stories, ideas to characters. I mean, basically what we're doing right now. I mean, that's the whole point of. She's doing exactly what we're doing.
Oh, 100%. And it really just lends to her whole point in this introduction of the power of the story. I mean, she starts talking about, in order for you to understand that it's more than just like, oh, stories are powerful, she starts to get you to understand your own body. She's like, hearing, here's how hearing works.
Yes.
You're starting on the personal level with your body. You're like, okay, I'm thinking about my ears, I'm thinking about the sounds and how that affects my entire being. She's like, okay, so now there's 3 ways of hearing. So your brain is already thinking about that. She's like, that's how powerful story is. Like,
yeah, I agree. And that was really, really interesting, the 3 levels of hearing. And she asks us, now that you have heard this story, and you have been thinking about the fact that you have 3 different types of hearing, I ask you to use your most deep inner understanding or hearing to understand the story and the stories that we go on. And it just kind of like makes you perk up and get ready, like, oh gosh, like I gotta really listen, because it's gonna feed my soul. And I love how she talks about, she's like, this is where I came from. Like this is, I'm close to women, to not women, but to nature and to animals. I love that. I think that's another thing that she makes her unique, because I don't think a lot of people have or have the privilege really to grow up so close to nature and not be afraid of wolves, right? Because I feel like
Yeah.
most of us who grew up in the city are just like, I was scared of everything was out in bears, oh my, wolves, oh no, like that's just you got to kill the vermin.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Or even just the disconnect, like in contrast, I know there are a couple states trying to let wolves back in, and the only pushback is from people who actually have experience with the animals. They're like, I don't know if you understand how dangerous of a decision this is. Like, so on the
Wow.
flip side, as much as they're like, people in the city are afraid of these things, they're also disconnected to the reality of these things. It's like you only have a visual representation through maybe books, maybe movies give you a visual, but do you have encounters? Going to the zoo is not an encounter in the wild.
Oh no. Oh no. Animals that are in
Yeah.
captivity are nothing in comparison to the wild, untamed animals who are just out there fending for themselves. They are survivalists. They really do have that natural instinct. And I mean, I kind of pity the animals that are in captivity, because they have had that taken from them, especially the ones that were free and they're not free now. I mean, they're just such a sad existence, because animals are supposed to be, out there unless they're supposed to be domesticated. I don't even know, like, were animals even supposed to be domesticated? Probably not, because we're not even supposed to live in houses. Like, we're not supposed to be domesticated. We're just supposed to be out in nature.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Like, that's how deep this goes.
Yeah. It goes to the core. It absolutely goes to the core.
Gosh, oh man. And then she hits us. Oh wait, no, before we go into the story, we wanted to go into that footnote, because that footnote, where is
Yeah.
that? Yes. Let me see. She said, next, I found the ancient Aztec story of orphaned twins being breastfed by a she wolf until the children were old enough to stand on their own. Now, I feel like that story is actually, maybe not specifically the twins part, but children being raised by animals. I mean, there's the Jungle Book.
Mm.
Is there any other stories you can think of, where children were raised by animals?
That is the first one that comes to mind. I feel like it's happened. Like I've read accounts of feral children who might have been raised by animals. It almost always sounds like it's wolves, because
Always.
they like, out of all, I mean, other species might take you in, but it might be really rare.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't ever heard of like the bear taking anything in. A wolf, a dog, a cat, maybe a big cat.
hmm
Taking in a young something, but no, not any other kind of animals. Let's see.
Oh, I think Princess Mononoke, if you've seen that
Yes,
one.
Princess Mononoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are huge wolves. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
Yeah, no, they're huge.
Random side note.
Yeah.
Man. She was very lucky. But no, I love both of those movies. But yeah, they talk about, and in each of those are very different stories, aren't they? How they interpret humanity, what the child is supposed to go back to humanity, and it's just not. I don't know. Let me not get sidetracked. That's another thing. We're concerned about this. And I found the footnote here. She said, let's see, what does it say? There are quite different published versions of Bluebeard in the collection. Nope, that's chapter 2. That's the wrong one. Oh no! Okay. Have you ever seen the movie on Netflix, God's Crooked Lines?
No.
This is a very, very I don't do Netflix very much, but I love psycho thrillers, and this is an interesting movie about a lady who's going into a psych ward. Okay, the premise of the movie is that she is going into the psych ward undercover to figure out this death. Okay, when I looked at this note, Romulus and Remus, the twins of the Navarro mythos, they're the two characters in that story. They're twins named Romulus and Remus. And I was just like, I had never heard of those names before in my entire life. And this is the second time I have seen these names in my entire life. So yeah, that's now I'm thinking back to that movie, and I'm like, oh man, there's a whole nother depth to their characters that I don't even know. And now I want to go back.
We're gonna have to now, because Romulus and Remus, most people will know from Rome as the founders of Rome. I love that she also notes that there are a lot of famous twins. I mean, there's twins in almost every single cosmology and mythos. She heard about this through an Aztec story, and there are a set of, I think it's the Mayan hero twins or the Aztec hero twins. They have great stories about their adventures. So it's interesting that these twins were also breastfed by a wolf, because that was Romulus and Remus thing, is that they were raised by wolves, and they have a whole thing. So it's like, if you're raised by a pack animal, you understand life in a very different way.
Yeah.
And it definitely affects how you're going to, I don't know. I mean, these guys were like leaders. It affects your leadership skills, because you're watching leadership happen in nonverbal. You know, it's like in kind of a purity, because I don't know. I mean, how backstabbing can animals be? I feel like animals are pretty upfront.
No, for real. You want to challenge me? You come on and you challenge me, and we do this thing right now, and then we put it behind us. Whoever wins, wins. You know. Or I love. I don't know if you've seen the picture of how the leader leads from the back of the pack whenever they're traveling. How the elderly are the ones that go first. They set the pace, and the leader is the one who keep like. Can you imagine a human leader being at the back of the pack? Like, I'm sorry, but I don't think, I mean, man.
Me first.
Right? I am the face of this organization.
You know, I do remember watching Three Stooges as a kid, and one of the guys, I always thought that was a funny line, but now that you say that, like, he would always be like, you go first, or I'll lead the way, you go first. Oh,
that is so funny. I'll lead the way, but you go first. Right? I'm gonna start saying that. I'm gonna start saying
right?
that to my friend. I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna lead the way, but you go first.
Delegating right now.
Exactly. Just so you know who's in charge. I am the leader. I assign this task to you. You go first. Oh gosh. So yeah, okay. So after she sets it all up with Romulus and Remus, who are the breastfed by a she wolf, and then she jumps right into the wolf woman. Now, this story, the bone, no, yeah, you're right. You're the bone woman. My apologies. It took a turn that I wasn't expecting, honestly, because, first we're talking about, the bone woman and, what she collects and where you can find her and the names that she goes by. And then, of course, that talks about her work. Her sole work is in collecting bones, where she finds the bones. But then what she does with the bones is something, for me, like I was like, I wasn't expecting it to take the turn that it did at the end. She starts singing to the bones. She has to meditate on what song she will sing, and then she sings over them to breathe life into them. And when she's breathing life into them, it doesn't stop at an animal figure. The animal figure turns into a woman. Am I wrong?
It does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, no, I thought, sorry, I don't know why I second guessed myself there, but I definitely knew I was going in the right direction. A laughing woman who runs free towards the horizon. So that is the part that I was like, oh, okay, whoa, wait a minute. So she brings new life into more than just wolf bones.
Yeah,
They
you start
manifest and
to
evolve.
understand. I'm sorry.
No, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, you start to, it's a very sudden shift, but you understand that what she's singing to is you. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if she's resurrecting, you know, we're seeing the animals, we're seeing life in that form. And then we understand that life, that's us.
Mm-hmm.
That's, she's singing us back to life.
Mm-hmm.
She's singing you back
Mm-hmm.
to life. If you run into her, chances are she's found your bones and she's singing you back to life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. She's dusted them off. She's collected them from all of the corners, where we would kind of say, somebody go find my sanity, somebody go find my brain. She went, she went to all the corners of the universe. She brought your pieces back to you, and is trying to sing life back into them. So much so that you don't carry the burdens that you used to carry. You are laughing and you are running and you are free. And you are running forward towards a horizon, which can stretch on and go on forever. I mean, that is so beautiful. Um, the Bone Woman.
Yeah. She'll
Something.
get, yeah.
No. She'll get what?
Oh, she'll get deeper into it on what the bone woman is.
Yeah, so I think that's where we're at next. Now that we've done our own analysis of it, let's go ahead and I will read and us what she says of this story. Um, So she says, we all began as a bundle of bones, lost somewhere in a desert, a dismantled skeleton that lies under the sand. It is our work to recover the parts. It's a painstaking process, best done when the shadows are just right, for it takes much looking. La Loba indicates what we are to look for, the indestructible life force, the bones. Indestructible life force, the bones. The work of La Loba can be thought as representing Uncanto Milagro, a miracle story. It shows us what can go right for the soul. It is a resurrection story about the underworld, connection to wild woman. It promises that if we will sing the song, we can call up the psychic remains of the wild soul and bring her into a vital shape again. La Loba sings over the bones she has gathered. To sing means to use the soul voice. To sing means to use the soul voice. It means to say on the breath the truth of one's power and one's need. To breathe soul over the thing that is ailing or in need of restoration. It is done by descending into the deepest mood of great love and feeling, till one's desire for relationship with the wildish self overflows. Then to speak one's soul from the frame of mind. That is singing over the bones. We cannot make the mistake of attempting to elect this great feeling of love from a lover, For this women's labor of finding and singing the creation hymn is a solitary work, a work carried out in the desert of the psyche. Let us consider Laloba herself. In the symbolic lection of the psyche, the symbol of the old woman is one of the most widespread archetypal personifications in the world. This is true. Others are the great mother and father, the divine child, the trickster, the sorceress or the sorcerer, the maiden, the youth, the heroine warrior, and the fool or fooless. Yet a figure like La Loba can be considered vastly different in essence and effect, for she is symbolic of the feeder root. She is symbolic of the feeder root to an entire instinctual system. In the Southwest, the archetype of the old woman can also be apprehended as old la que sabe, the one who knows. I first came to understand la que sabe when I lived in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains in New Mexico, under the heart of Lobo Peak. An old witch from Ranchos told me that La Que Sabe knew everything about women, that La Que Sabe had created women from a wrinkle on the sole of her divine foot. This is why women are knowing creatures. They are made, in essence, of the skin of the soul, which feels every truth. Which feels everything. This idea that the skin of the foot is sentient had the ring of a truth for an accumulated what for an what am I missing?
Acculturated.
Huh?
I think it's acculturated. I had a hard time with that one.
Acculturated?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
For an articulated quiche, right? But not Q. It's quiche. Okay. It's still a K sound. Anyway. Anyway, there are some tribeswomen. We don't know what kind of tribeswomen they are, but they're tribeswomen who once told me that she'd worn her first pair of shoes when she was 20 years old and was still not used to walking with blindfolds on her feet. But she said it in Spanish, but I just decided not to read it in Spanish. The wild essence that inhabits nature has been called by many names and crisscrosses all nations down through the centuries. These are some of the old names for her. The Mother of Days is the mother creator god of all beings and doings, including the sky and earth. Mother Nyx has dominion over all things from the mud and dark. Duga controls the skies and winds and the thoughts of humans from which all reality spreads. Kotelusha gives birth to the instant universe, which is racially and hard to no, that's not. Is that racially? Am I reading that right?
rascally.
Rascally. I knew I wasn't. I was like, Ariel, your mouth and your brain are not connected right now. Like, I knew that was not saying that right. Rascally and hard to control. Okay. So she gives birth to the instant universe, which is rascally and hard to control. But like a wolf mother, she bites her child's ear to contain it. And then we have Hakite, the old seer who knows her people and has about her the smell of hummus and the breath of God. And there are many, many more. These are the images of what and who lives under the hill, far off in the desert, out in the deep. By whatever name, the force personified by La Loba records the personal past and the ancient past for her has survived generation after generation and is old beyond time. She is an archivist of feminine intention. She preserves female tradition. Her whiskers sense the future. She has the far-seeing milky eye of the old crone. She lives backward and forward in time simultaneously, correcting for one side by dancing with the other. The old one, the one who knows, is within us. She thrives in the deepest soul psyche of women, the ancient and vital wild self. Her home is that place in time where the spirit of women and the spirit of wolf meet, the place where mind and instincts mingle, where a woman's deep life funds her mundane life. It is the point where I and the thou kiss, the place where in all spirit women run with the wolves. This old woman stands between the worlds of rationality and mythos. She is the knuckle bone on which these two worlds turn. This land between the worlds is that inexplicable place we all recognize once we experience it, but its nuances slip away and shape change if one tries to pin them down, except when we use poetry, music, dance, and story. There is speculation that the immune system of the body is rooted in this mysterious psychic land, and also the mystical, as well as all archetypal images and urges, including our God hunger, our yearning for the mysteries, and all the sacred instincts, as well as those which are mundane. Some would say the records of humankind, the root of light, the coil of dark, are also here. It is not a void, but rather the place of the mist beings, where things are and also are not yet, where shadows have substance and substance is sheer. One thing about this land is certain. It is old, older than the oceans. It has no age. It is ageless. The wild woman archetype funds this layer, emanating from the instinctual psyche. Although she can take on many guises in our dreams and creative experiences, she is not from the layer of the mother, the maiden, the medical woman, and she is not the inner child. She is not the queen, the Amazon, the lover, the seer. She is just what she is. Call her La Q Sabe, the one who knows. Call her wild woman. Call her La Loba. Call her by her high names or by her low names. Call her by her newer names or her ancient ones. She remains just what she is. Wild woman as an archetype is an immutable and ineffable force which carries a bounty of ideas, images, and particularities for humankind. Archetype exists everywhere, and yet it is not seeable in the usual sense. What can be seen of it in the dark cannot necessarily be seen in daylight. We find lingering evidence of archetype in the images and symbols found in stories, literature, poetry, painting, and religion. It would appear that its glow, its voice, and its fragrance are meant to cause us to be raised up from complaining or from contemplating the shit on our tails to occasionally traveling in the company of the stars. At La Loba's place, the physical body is, as poet Tony Moffat writes, a luminous animal, and the body's immune system seems, via anecdotal reports, to be strengthened or weakened by conscious thought. At La Loba's place, the spirits manifest as personages, and La Voz Mythologica, the mythological voice of the deep psyche, speaks as poet and oracle. Things of psychic value, once dead, can be revived. Also, the basic material of all stories existed in the world. Wait. Also, the basic material of all stories extinct in the world. What? Exist. I was right the first time, wasn't I?
You were close to the first time. Yeah, existed.
Existent. I see. This is existent. Also, the basic material of all stories existed in the world ever began with someone's experience here in this inexplicable psychic land, and someone's attempt to relate what occurred to them here. There are various names for this locus betwixt the worlds. Jung called it variously the collective unconscious, the objective psyche, and the psychoid unconscious, referring to a more inevitable layer of the former. He thought of the latter as a place where the biological and psychological worlds shared headwaters, where biology and psychology might mingle with the influence. Where biology and psychology might mingle with and influence one another. Throughout human memory, this place, call it node, call it the home of the mist beings, the crack between the worlds, is the place where visitations, miracles, imaginations, inspirations, and healings of all natures occur. Though this site transmits great psychic wealth, it must be approached with preparation, for one may be tempted to joyously drown in the rapture of one's time there. Consensual reality may seem less exciting by comparison. In this sense, these deeper layers of psyche can become a rapture trap from which people return unsteady with wobbly ideas and airy presentments. That is not how it is meant to be. How one is meant to return is wholly washed or dipped in a reviving and informing water, something which impresses upon our flesh the odor of the sacred. Each woman has potential access to Rio Abujo Rio, this river beneath the river. She arrives there through deep meditation, dance, writing, painting, prayer making, singing, drumming, active imagination, or any activity which requires an intense altered consciousness. A woman arrives in this world between worlds through yearning, and by seeking something she can see just out of the corner of her eye. She arrives there by deeply creative acts, through intentional solitude, and by practice of any of the arts. And even with these crafted practices, much of what occurs in this ineffable world remains forever mysterious to us, for it breaks physical laws and rational laws as we know them. The care with which the psyche, uh, yeah, the care with which this psychic state must be entered is recorded in a small but powerful story of four rabbis who yearn to see the most sacred wheel of Ezekiel. So, first, before we go to the next story, let's finish talking about La Loba. Because, whoa!
Yeah, it's quite a bit. So I have a few things underlined here about it. Let's see here. It shows us what can go right for the soul, this story. Because I think the inclination is always to think about what could go wrong. What could go wrong? That's why a lot of people don't seek out healing or try to resolve certain issues. What could go wrong? You might get back into fear. You could experience something again because your body will relive those things, those painful traumas. What will go wrong? Shoot. And anyone who's gone through healing will tell you, when you bring that stuff up, it will shake up your life. So you might be like, I don't want to shake my life up. No thanks. I'm okay. Because you don't know. You never know. You won't understand how much of a co-creator you are in this world until you start really becoming conscious of the deeper aspects of the self. So the story is so nice because it shows you what can go right. What can go right is that you can be free. You can live again.
Yes.
I love that.
It has so much hope in it, right? It doesn't leave us wanting more in a bad way. It leaves us wanting more because we know that we can be more and we can attain more. It's when she was talking about I love how she said the indestructible life force is the bones. That imagery of picking up bones is because you cannot be destroyed no matter what happens. There was always going to be a piece of you, and you can always put your pieces back together, and you can always become whole because you are indestructible. Like at the core of who you are, your bones. I like that a lot.
Yeah, nothing is truly lost ever. Like that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, it's no matter what. Like if your life is not where you want it, if you feel like you've lost parts of yourselves, there is hope. You can call those things back to you. And the way that the story tells it is that you sing those things back to you.
Ah, yes. Talking about, because before she talked about 3 different types of hearing, and now she's bringing up the soul voice. She's brought up soul hearing. Now she's bringing up soul voice to sing. She really, where was it? She said to breathe over the soul, to breathe the truth of one's power, of one's need, to breathe soul over the thing that is ailing or in need of restoration. Wow.
Yeah. I like the part about the feet. I thought that was really fun. This is why women are knowing creatures. They are made in essence of the skin of the soul, which feels everything. Your soul does know. It knows.
That was a good one. And it really is, because the skin of the soul, play on words there, right? And your soul really does feel everything. I mean, the sole of your foot, right? I mean, I know that a lot of people might not be ticklish on their feet, but the sole of your foot, like you you feel like it's a very sensitive area. It doesn't get a lot of attention. So when you touch it, it's very much stimulated. And so that play on words there is so interesting because the skin of the sole of your foot, the skin of the sole, and then any type of art is expressing the soul that you feel. Singing, she brings up all kinds of different ones.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. I also like that she sight. She brings up sight too. The far-seeing milky eye of the old crone. She lives backward and forward in time simultaneously.
Yes. Ooh,
Reckoning
that
for
was
one
good.
side, dancing with the other. And that's, yeah, every woman has this part in them, every single one. It doesn't matter how conscious, your childhood was. There are traditions that I am not familiar with. I'm pretty mixed heritage. And there are things that I didn't grow up with, but that doesn't mean that I don't have a knowing. Now I'm going to be careful what I appropriate and using that word correctly in my expression, which things I choose to manifest. But you know what you can do.
Yes, you
You
do.
know how you can express those truths. And sometimes it's deeper than an aesthetic. For sure.
Much deeper. And I feel like as women, we quote unquote know a lot more than we want to give ourselves credit for. I know that there are some times when it's like, for instance, I was in Hobby Lobby the other day and I was picking out paint. And I thought, oh, I should get more pink, baby pink. But, I'm not going to get that this time. I'm sure I have plenty. So I don't want to spend the money. But I go back home, and what do you know? I should have got more pink because I needed to use it that day, right? Like little things like that, like make me realize that I actually do know exactly what I need.
Yes.
And when I have those thoughts, I need to listen to myself because I'm trying to tell myself exactly what I need. It's not just a little, whatever we've been led to believe is what I have personally be led to believe is unnecessary or is, something to not listen to, or, I always talk away. I always talk myself away. I think a lot of women might have that, be able to relate to that, talking themselves out of anything, a lot of things.
Usually
Right?
stuff that your soul is calling for. Then what do? We spend our money on really dumb stuff, and we think that we're being really like brave or treating ourselves, but it's not really a treat if it's not really food for the soul.
Right.
And that's
Ooh,
what you're talking about, is that over intellectualization. My mouth does not work. Just over intellectualizing.
It got out. It is. Oh my gosh. Overanalyzing. I do that all the time. I overthink everything, because I'm thinking of, how this affects this person and that person and what could happen and this and happen. Who cares? Right? Nobody cares. I know already. And I should just relax in that. And sorry guys. When I get excited, I start. I was trying to say that I'm sure that she will give us some more empowering stories that we can take, because the first step is always realizing what it is that you need to fix, right? It's facing it, it's not shying away from it. And I think this discussion, this story, picking up this book is us, shining a light on those things about ourselves that we need to shine a light on. And hopefully as we continue to read, we'll have some, we'll be downloading some practical ways that we can implement this in our lives. And I think we will.
Yeah, I think so. I think a final thought before we do the story of the rabbis is just she does give a few names of certain deities or people you might be familiar with, just to kind of provide you with some sort of navigation, that there's an example of this. You already know it. You've
Yeah.
seen it. It might not be the exact mirror for you, but you're
Mm-hmm.
at least a little familiar with this energy. You can
Mm-hmm.
start to
Mm-hmm.
familiarize by having a picture from the story.
Are you talking about the Mother of Days and the Mother Nyx? Yeah, yeah. My favorite was the Durga, who controls the skies and winds and the thoughts of humans, from which all reality spreads. Okay.
Yes.
Can we talk
Yeah.
about that for a moment? Because that right there, everything is mental. Reality is mental. And even she talks about, even right after that, she said that the speculation of the immune system of the body is
Mm,
rooted in the mysterious psychic land as well. Everything is mental. And
yes.
I've never heard of Durga, so honestly, I haven't actually heard of any of the Mother of Days or any of those actually. So I'm glad that she gave that archetype. But you're right that the woman, this archetype itself, is very well known. She said, what did she say? She's always old. She's always fat. She's always ragged, haggard. Got one snaggle tooth. Like,
She's a thing.
no, it's true. It's true. But everyone should have, even though I didn't know these particular um, characters, I did connect with them in that one specifically, just because, I mean, the psyche, and that's what we're talking about. Everything is
Yeah.
mental. The psyche of the wild woman is mental, and it is something that connects all the women. It's just beautiful, learning how to this. She says that we arrive there through deep meditation, dance, writing, painting, drumming, active imagination, singing. These are the ways that we can connect with our mental psyche that connects to our reality. We literally can't have anything we want if we just listen to ourselves. Isn't that amazing? Like when you think
Yeah.
about it that way.
I love that. I love that. I'm glad you brought up the immune system thing. Yeah. Yeah, that's how deep it is. That's the first example you have of creating your reality. Start there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Because
Yeah, that's
everything
it.
manifests in your body, because your body is a direct reflection of your soul. I mean, it can't help but to manifest what you're feeling, that fear, that doubt, that worry, that anxiety. Like, it will always manifest. I gosh, I don't want to talk about anything personal, but I definitely I can see this in my sister, because she, you know, I don't know what mental. I know people know that there's books on that. We could talk about books on that another time, but certain thoughts affect certain areas of the body. And if you can figure out what thought it is that is ailing that area of your body, it's actually very, very magical.
Yeah,
Um,
it is. It is. It's like the most powerful magic you can work.
mhm, mhm. I agree. I agree. And I don't really, the whole setup of the psyche was what she was trying to segue for the next
Mhm.
story, which she says the care with which this psychic state must be entered is recorded in a small but powerful story of four rabbis who yearned to see the most sacred wheel of Ezekiel. So this next story is supposed to take us even deeper into that. So if you want to read the story, we'll talk about it. And then if you want to read a little bit more, you can find another place, another easy break for you to stop if you want.
Sure. Yeah, it's a pretty quick story.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's called The Four Rabbinim. One night, four Rabbinim were visited by an angel who awakened them and carried them to the seventh vault of the seventh heaven. There they beheld the sacred wheel of Ezekiel. Somewhere in the descent from paradise to earth, one rabbi, having seen such splendor, lost his mind, and wandered, frothing and foaming, until the end of his days. The second rabbi was extremely cynical. Oh, I just dreamed Ezekiel's wheel, that was all. Nothing really happened. The third rabbi carried on and on about what he had seen, for he was totally obsessed. He lectured and would not stop with how it was all constructed and what it all meant, and in this way he went astray and betrayed his faith. The fourth rabbi, who was a poet, took a paper in hand and a reed, and sat near the window writing song after song, praising the evening dove, his daughter in her cradle, and all the stars in the sky, and he lived his life better than before.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And there's even a footnote at the end of that one. Let me go look at that real quick.
I don't think I looked at that one.
Very interesting. Yeah. She just basically says that that her aunt gave her this story, and that there's another version of the story called "The Four Who Entered Paradise," and it's kind of the same thing. But I mean, okay, so have you ever heard the story of the guy who is standing on his roof in the middle of a flood, and he says, "God, please save me. God, please save me." And all of this stuff happens. A boat comes, a helicopter comes, like people come by, but he never gets on, and he drowns. He goes to heaven and says, "Why didn't you save me?" And God says, "What are you talking about? I sent you so many chances after chances after chances, and you never saw." That is the first thing I saw about when I read this, because there's several different type of people in the world. And, you know, the creator cannot not give us what we request, I think. So when all four of these rabbis asked to see the reel of Ezekiel, the creator is going to let them see that. But their own faith, whether or not they actually believed that their prayer would be answered, is how it was interpreted. So, oh my goodness, that is crazy.
I love that. I love that connection. Yeah, they all have, you could ask to see the most spectacular truth, and you might not see it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you will think that you haven't seen it, because it'll elude you with its simplicity. Or whatever you think. If you think it's going to be complicated, it's going to be simple. If you think it's going to be too much to handle, it might be.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
or it won't be. You'll be like, oh, it was. The one guy was like, I just dreamed it, NBD. You know,
Yeah.
he just. So yeah, good point.
I mean, okay, so one guy lost his mind completely. Like he just couldn't sit with reality anymore because he didn't want to be here. He just lost it. The next guy said, I can't even fathom that so much. It doesn't exist for real. It's just a dream and nothing really happened, and that's how I'm gonna live with it. I think I'm the third guy, honestly, the one who goes on and 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 won't shut up, and everybody thinks it's gone crazy. And eventually I go astray because I lose the fact that I had the vision in the first place and I had that connection. I'm so busy trying to convince everybody else that I had this and that they need to listen to it, that I just need to be the fourth guy who just sits down at his desk. He writes and writes and writes and creates, and his daughter's asleep and chilling. He's still following, doing everything he needs to do.
Yeah.
The stars are in the sky. Like, he lived his life better than before. Like, what? Can I be that guy, please?
Yeah, to have that transformative life where you see, because you've seen everything, you're like, whoa, it's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
All of it. All the stuff that
Mm-hmm.
drove that guy crazy, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
All the stuff that somebody is raving about, it's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I feel you there. Like, I feel like I've definitely been guilty of that. Like, everyone's got to know this thing. We got to de-occult everything and tell everybody. And it's like, but then what? What are you going to do
Right.
with all that? Because this guy is celebrating every day. He's celebrating everything. And that's, I mean, when you live that attitude, everything is better. Everything's just better. The
I
knowledge, the
agree.
notice has improved your life. And whatever changes happen on the external will be as they are. And they'll get there. They'll have
But
everything you need.
you're not so worried about the external at that point because you're kind of living in the present, but you're celebrating so much more than just the present. You're celebrating the future, you're celebrating the past, you're celebrating what could be, what will be, what has been. Like, I can't even, that's such a big concept, but like, yeah, I think that's where I need to end that thought. Sorry.
You're fine. That was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Sometimes less is more. Talking about how I need to get on my soapbox, right? Sometimes less is more. I just saw him. I was like, wow, I'm going to go way, way off the rails. Let's just not.
You knew.
I did. I knew. I caught myself. Oh my gosh. So
That's
I'm really
great.
excited to see how she goes. Well, I said before that I was gonna let you read, but I think I should read a little bit because we should still go back and forth. But we had to find a better place to stop. So okay, let's see. She says, "Who saw what is in the seventh vault of the seventh heaven? We do not know, but we do know that contact with the world within the essence wherein the essence reside causes us to know something beyond the unusual hearing of humans and fills us with a feeling of expansion and grandeur as well." Oh, that's very, very true, isn't it? No. The expansion and grandeur. When we touch the authentic fundament, when we touch the authentic fundament of the one who knows, it causes us to react and act from our deepest integral nature. The story recommends that the optimal attitude for experiencing the deep unconscious is one of neither too much fascination nor too little, one of not too much awe, but neither too much cynicism. Bravery, yes, but not recklessness. Ooh, okay, sorry, we gotta stop right there.
Oh no, that's a good one.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. The optimal attitude for experiencing the deep unconsciousness is one of neither too much fascination nor too little, one of not too much awe, but neither too much cynicism. Bravery, yes, but not recklessness. Like, it is the perfect balance. It is seeing and acknowledging, but not letting it be overwhelming. It is bravery, but not recklessness. I love that because I feel like we have to be brave. We have to be courageous. Like, and sometimes people can think that bravery and courage does mean reckless, like you just jump out in front of a car. But no. It's doing something that is hard or difficult in spite of said circumstances, while at the same time being aware of the consequences that will occur or could occur. Like, there's a lot in that little paragraph right there. That was like 2 sentences.
It's that knowing. Bravery includes that knowing. That's that guy at the very end. He has the knowing. It's the trust, the faith. That's what knowing does to you.
Oh, I love that. I love that. continuing, John cautions in his magnificent essay, The Transcendent Function, that some persons in their pursuit of the self will over aestheticize the God or self experience. Some will undervalue it, some will overvalue it, and some who are not ready for it will be injured by it. But still, others will find their way to what Jung called the mortal obligation to live out and to express what one has learned in the descent or ascent to the wild self. This mortal obligation he speaks of means to live what we perceive to be found in the psychic Elysian fields, the isles of the dead, the bone deserts of the psyche, and the face of the mountain, the rock of the sea, the lush underworld, any place where La Que Sabe breathes upon us, changing us. Our work is to show we have been breathed upon, to show it, give it out, sing it out, to live out in the topside world what we have received through our hidden knowings from body, from dreams, and journeys of all sorts. That is very interesting. The mortal obligation. Have you ever heard of that before?
Moral obligation?
Mm-hmm.
I have not. I'm just barely getting into Jung, so I haven't heard his idea of that.
Mm-hmm.
To live out and express what one has learned, the descent or ascent to the wild self. Yeah, it probably is a moral obligation because you've done this kind of work, and based on what I have read, I've started reading the Red Book of his. And I've only heard a little bit of the Black Book. It's beautiful. I think when you start to do all the work, you start to gain this compassion and this empathy for others. And it would be wrong for you not to do something different as a result. You are morally obligated in a sense. Like, you have to. I hope that makes sense.
No, it definitely does. I had never heard of it put that way, but that really, really resonates deep because, you are supposed to express. Like once you learn what you're supposed to act on that knowledge, that fine balance of moving forward, of advancing after you've learned, not too much, not too little, but just taking that action. Yeah, and I've never personally read anything of Young's, but now I'm like, well, I need to read the Red Book, the Black Book, this essay. Like,
Some dead stuff.
Gosh. Okay, so La Loba parallels world myths in which the dead are brought back to life. In Egyptian mythos, Isis accomplishes this service for her dead brother, Horus. I'm blinking. I know his name, but for whatever reason, I'm not. Isis and Osiris. Thank you. I was like, oh, I know this. Isis and Osiris, who is dismembered by his evil brother Set. What? Every night. Okay, so an Egyptian mythos. I didn't know. No, I need to brush up on my Egyptian mythos. Okay, Isis accomplishes this service for her dead brother Osiris, who is dismembered by his evil brother Set every night. Isis works from dusk to dawn each night to piece her brother back together again before morning, else the sun will not rise. The Christ raised Lazarus, who has been dead too long, been dead so long he stinketh. Uh, Demeter calls for her pale daughter Persephone from the land of the dead once a year, and La Loba sings over the bones. This is our meditation practice as women, calling back the dead and dismembered aspects of ourselves, calling back the dead and dismembered aspects of life itself. The one who recreates from that which has died is always a double-sided archetype. The creation mother is always also the death mother and vice versa. Because of this dual nature or double tasking, the great work before us is to learn to understand what around and about us and what within us must live and what must die. Our work is to apprehend the timing of both, to allow what must die to die and what must live to live. For women, El Rio Abajo Rio, the river beneath the river world, the bone woman home place contains direct knowing about seedlings, rootstock, the seed corn of the world. In Mexico, women are said to carry la luz de la vida, the light of life. This light is located not in a woman's heart, not behind her eyes, but in los ovarios, in her ovaries, where all the seed stock is laid down before she is even born. For men, exploring the deeper ideas of fertility and the nature of seed, the cross-gender image of this fury bag, los conjonos, or is that cojones? Okay.
The furry bag.
Yep. Okay, cool. I know that word in Spanish, don't I? We all heard that dirty word. Oh gosh. So okay, wait a minute. The double-sided archetype. I mean, yes, the one who creates and who also is the death mother. That is very, very true. I just lost my train of thought, Rachel. I'm so sorry.
It'll come back.
It will. I was too worried about the cojones. Oh Lord.
Fair.
Oh, we'll just keep going. You want me to hear? I'll read one. Are you on page 29 right now?
For me it's 32.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 32. Never mind. I will read 1, 2, 3, 4 more paragraphs.
Sure.
Where it says right before number 7, where the imagine the old woman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So this knowing to be gained in being close, this is the knowing to be gained in being close to wild woman. When La Loba sings, she sings from the knowing of los ovaries, knowing from deep within the body, deep within the mind, deep within the soul. The symbols of seed and bone are very similar. If one has the rootstock, the basis, the original part, if one has the seed corn, any havoc can be repaired. Devastations can be resown. Fields can be rested. Hard seed can be soaked to soften it, to help it break open and thrive. To have the seed means to have the key to life. To be with the cycles of the seed means to dance with life, dance with death, dance into life again. This embodies the life and death mother in her most ancient and principled form, because she turns in those constant cycles. I call her the life, death, life mother. If something is lost, if something is lost, it is she to whom one must appeal, speak with, and listen to. Her psychic advice is sometimes harsh or difficult to put into practice, but always transformative and restorative. So when something is lost, we must go to the old woman who always lives in the out of the way pelvis. She lives out there, half in and half out of the creative fire. This is the perfect place. This is a perfect place for women to live, right next to the fertile huevos, their eggs, their female seeds. There, the tiniest ideas and the largest ones are waiting for our minds and actions to make them manifest.
Hmm.
Okay, I do too. Like, oh,
Like,
this whole thing was deep.
welcome to the deep end.
Welcome to the deep end. Seriously, like I know I keep saying that, but I mean, we chose this book because of that reason.
Yeah, yeah, because this gets to the core of the feminine,
Mhm.
like no other text that I've read. You know, a lot of
Mhm.
it's been really kind of surfacey, um,
Mhm.
maybe a little floofy.
Mhm.
It's a gentle, soft. You know, it's a very soft disclosure. There's a reason it's called that. Soft disclosure is nice. It should whet your appetite, though. You should want to go
Mhm.
deeper.
Much,
So,
much.
oh yeah, I love. And before I move forward,
Yeah,
you know
you want to
that
talk?
that term is what she'll start referring to her as, the life, death, life mother. It's not just life and death. It's life, death, life.
It's a cycle. Exactly. Yes. I love that. Yeah, we really should do that because there is always whoever gives takes away. Like there's never just that one. Um Everything
Well,
is
if
brought
you,
back.
oh, sorry.
No, you're good. I'm done
Oh, are you sure?
now.
um, if you want like a more mainstream example of this, I would probably, and I just thought of this just now when we're talking about this, but you could look at the actions of the elements in astrology, because there's
Mm.
fixed, cardinal, and mutable. And so each one of them is a process of that. Cardinal begins life, and then it
Mm-hmm.
evens out and becomes fixed, and then it has to change. And so then it becomes mutable before it becomes cardinal again. So you have the
Wow.
life, the death, and the life, like again, the stasis, this like.
Yes. Yes. Oh wow. That was a good connection, Rachel. That really was. Gosh, I didn't even think about that, but that's amazing.
I didn't
Um,
think about it
and I appreciate too her the fact that she equates into the body, not even just the woman's heart, not in her eyes, right? Because I feel like we those are very light and surfacey type um archetypes that we are used a lot in the stories, right? Like, she's so
now.
sweet, she's so kind and gentle, her eyes are so pretty, and you can her I don't know what do they say? You can see her eyes are the gateway to the soul or whatever, but
Yeah.
here she's like, no, 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 no. It's in the seed, it is in the ovaries, it's deeper than that. It is literally in your core where the cycle of life and death is. Like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, here we are just stuck looking at windows. We're like, oh yeah,
Mhm,
the window. It's just a
mhm,
window. That's all it is.
mhm,
It's the
mhm.
depth. Are you seeing the depth? You've got to go inside.
You got to go inside. Seriously, go inside. Wow, that was amazing. The huevos. That be the perfect place for the woman to live, where the tiniest ideas and the largest ones are waiting for our minds and actions to make them manifest. I like that because you can't just have your mind to manifest. You can't just work to manifest. You have to in sync your mind and your actions. to manifest those ideas that are already within you, in your core, if you look deep enough.
Yeah, beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So, continuing on to the end.
If you want to, you don't have to.
Oh
If
no,
you want to, if you feel like you need to stop, just let me know.
oh no, all good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Imagine the old woman as a quintessential 2 million-year-old woman. She is the original wild woman who lives beneath and yet on the top side of the earth. She lives in and through us, and we are surrounded by her. The deserts, the woodlands, and the earth under our then some. I'm only women like to dig in the earth.
You there? You
Oh yeah.
kind of stuck for a second.
Oh no.
I know. Okay, I think you might be okay now. Would you mind going back a sentence?
Sure. Let's see. The deserts, the woodlands, and the earth under our houses are 2 million years old, and then some. I'm always taken by how deeply women like to dig in the earth. They plant bulbs for the spring. They poke blackened fingers into the mucky soil, transplanting sharp-smelling tomato plants. I think they're digging down to the 2 million-year-old woman. They're looking for her toes and her paws. They want her for a present to themselves, for with her they feel of a peace and at peace. Of a peace and at peace.
Mm-hmm.
Without her, they feel restless. Many women I've worked with over the years began their first session with some variation of, well, I don't feel bad, but I don't feel good either. I think that condition is not a great mystery. We know it comes from not enough muck. The cure? La Loba. Find the 2 million-year-old woman. She is caretaker of the dead and dying of woman things. She is the road between the living and the dead. She sings the creation hymns over the bones. The old woman, wild woman, is La Voz Mythologica. She is the mythical voice who knows the past and our ancient history and keeps it recorded for us in stories. Sometimes we dream her as a disembodied but beautiful voice. As the hag maiden, she shows us what it means to be not withered, but wizened. Babies are born wizened with instinct. They know in their bones what is right and what to do about it. It is innate. If a woman holds on to this gift of being old while she's young, and young while she is old, she will always know what comes next. If she has lost it, she can yet reclaim it with some purposeful psychic work. La Loba, the old one in the desert, is a collector of bones. In archetypal symbology, bones represent the indestructible force. They do not lend themselves to easy reduction. They are, by their structure, hard to burn, nearly impossible to pulverize. In myth and story, they represent the indestructible soul spirit. We know the soul spirit can be injured, even maimed, but is very nearly impossible to kill. You can dent the soul and bend it. You can hurt it. You can leave the marks of illness upon it and the scorch, but it does not die, for it is protected by La Loba in the underworld. She is both the finder and the incubator of the bones. Bones are heavy enough to hurt with, sharp enough to cut through flesh, and when old and if strung, tinkle like glass. The bones of the living are alive and creatural in themselves. They constantly renew themselves. A living bone has a curiously soft skin to it. It appears to have certain powers to regenerate itself, even as a dry bone. It becomes home for small living creatures. The wolf bones in this story represent the indestructible aspect of the wild self, the instinctual nature, the creatura, dedicated to freedom and the unspoiled, that which will never accept the rigors and requirements of a dead or overly civilizing culture. The metaphors in this story typify the entire process for bringing a woman to her full instinctual, wildish senses. Within us is the old one who collects bones. Within us there are the soul bones of this wild self. Within us is the potential to be fleshed out again as the creature we once were. Within us are the bones to change ourselves and our world. Within us is the breath and our truths as our longing. Together they are the song, the creation hymn we have been yearning to sing. This does not mean we should walk about with our hair hanging in our eyes or with black ringed claws for fingernails. Yes, we remain human, but also within the human woman is the animal instinctual self. This is not some romantic cartoon character. It has real teeth, a true snarl, huge generosity, unequaled hearing, sharp claws, generous and furry breasts. This self must have freedom to move, to speak, to be angry, and to create. This self is durable, resilient, and possesses high intuition. It is a self which is in the spirit feelings of death and birth. Today, the old, what is she remaking? The builder of the soul home. Ealohano, she makes and remakes the soul by hand. What is she making for you? Even in the best of worlds, the soul needs refurbishing from time to time. Just like the adobes here in the Southwest, a little peels, a little falls down, a little washes away. There's always an old bedroom slipper feet who is patting mud slurry on the adobe walls. She mixes straw and water and earth and pats it back to the walls, making them fine again. Without her, the house will lose its shape. Without her, it will wash down into a lump after a hard rain. She is the keeper of the soul. Without her, we lose our shape. Without an open supply line to her, humans are said to be soulless or damned souls. She gives shape to the soul house and makes more house by hand. She is the one in the old apron. She is the one whose dress is longer in the front than in the back. She is the one who pat-a-pat-pats. She is the soul maker, the wolf raiser, the keeper of things wild. So, I say to you with affection, imagine imagistically,
I like
you
it.
a black wolf, right? I'm like, close. Be you a black wolf, a northern gray, you are the quintessential instinctual creature. Some might really prefer you behave yourself and not climb all over their furniture in joy or all over people in welcome. Do it anyway. Some will draw back from you in fear or disgust. Your lover, however, will cherish this new aspect of you, if he or she be the right lover for you. Some people will not like it if you take a sniff at everything to see what it is. And for heaven's sakes, no lying on your back with your feet up in the air. Bad girl, bad wolf, bad dog, right? Wrong. Go ahead, enjoy yourself. People do meditation to find psychic alignment. That's why people do psychotherapy and analysis. That's why people analyze their dreams and make art. That is why some contemplate tarot cards, cast I Ching, dance, drum, make theater, pry out the poem, and fire up their prayers. That's why we do all the things we do. It is the work of bones together. Then we must sit at the fire and think about which song we will use to sing over the bones, which creation hymn, which recreation hymn, and the truths we tell will make the song. These are some good questions to ask till one decides on the song, one's true song. What has happened to my soul voice? What are the buried bones of my life? In what condition is my relationship to the instinctual self? When was the last time I ran free? God make life come alive again. The old woman sings over the bones flesh out. We too become over the bones we have found. As we pour of what we used to be when we were young, of what we used to know in the centuries past, and over the quickening we sense in the future, we stand on all fours, four square. Poor soul, we are revivified. We are no longer a thin solution. No, we are in the becoming stage of transformation. Like the dry bones, we so often start out in a desert. We feel disenfranchised, alienated, not connected to even a cactus clump. The ancients called the desert the place of divine revelation, but for women, there is much more to it than that. A desert is a place where life is very condensed. The roots of living things hold on to that last tear of water, and the flower hoards its moisture by only appearing in early morning and late afternoon. Life in the desert is small but brilliant, and most of what occurs goes on underground. This is like the lives of many women. The desert is not lush like a forest or jungle. It is very intense and mysterious in its life forms. Many of us have lived desert lives, very small on the surface and enormous under the ground. La Loba shows us precious things that can come from that sort of psychic distribution. A woman's psyche may have found its way to the desert out of resonance, or because of past cruelties, or because she was not allowed a larger life above ground. So often a woman feels then that she lives in an empty place where there is maybe just one cactus with one brilliant red flower on it, and then in every direction 500 miles of nothing. But for the woman who will go 501 miles, there is something more. A small for you. Some women don't want to be in the psychic desert. Frailty, the spareness of it. To crack a rusty jalopy and bump their way down the road to a fantasized shining city of the psyche. But they're disappointed, for the lush and the wild is not there. It is in the spirit world, in the world between worlds, Rio Abayo, that river beneath the river. Don't be a fool. Go back and stand under that one red flower and walk straight ahead for that last hard mile. Go up and knock on the old weathered door. Climb up to the cave. Crawl through the window of a dream. Sift the desert to see what you find. It is the only work we have to do. Do you wish psychoanalytic advice? Go gather bones.
Go gather bones. Mic drop.
Yeah. You want to know what to do? Get your bones together.
Right? Like, that's basically what she just said. Like, get your shit together. Go do what you know you already need to do. Just go.
Yeah. Yeah. I could just
Wow.
I love that imagery of being in the desert with the one red flower. Like, we've all had that moment where, like, it's so dead and dry and there's nothing here. There's one flower. Like,
Yep. I can definitely relate to that. Definitely relate to that. And she's like, but yo, just keep walking. Just keep walking and you will find something even more than this red flower.
yeah, you will find it.
One more mile.
Really, really strong.
So my favorite thing of this, okay, there were a couple ones. Let me see if I can go in order. Okay, so how she said that the soul spirit can be injured, even maimed, but it is very nearly impossible to kill. That just goes back to the whole part of, the bones, everything that makes us who we are as indestructible. She's very consistent with her imagery, which is, keeps her powerful, keeps her writing very powerful. She's not contradicting herself in any way. And then I also liked when she was like, some people will not like it if you take a sniff at everything to see what it is. And you're not allowed to lay on your back. You're a bad girl, bad wolf, bad dog. I definitely resonated with that because I feel like there are a lot of times where, my reaction to things, people look at me, and will think of that I'm like a puppy or like a dog, or you like want me to chill out, or just, whoever. Like, we can't control other people's reactions, but I know that I put on myself a lot other people's reactions, and I feel this way. I want to be out doing all kinds of weird stuff that people don't understand, but she's telling me that I just go ahead and enjoy myself, and fuck the fucking fuckers.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and that's the thing, like, I know I seem very serious on a lot of streams, but that's me. I am like that, the giant puppy, especially like we go on a hike for like the first 20 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, I'm outside. And like, I'm gonna go climb on that rock. I'm gonna go stand on that thing and like throw this one. And like the kid comes out, that playfulness. And that's something that I love about La Loba is wolves and the archetype are really deep down very playful. And the exploration of this world has this purity and this joy. And that's what I love to see in people too. Like, it is strange to people who aren't used to being genuinely excited. I think in the past I've been there where I'm like, why is she so excited? Why does she like that? But then it's like, that person right there put their light out? No way.
No way.
And you can tell when it's genuine,
Exactly. And we, like, I guess that comes back again because you're doing your own work, right? You see your own light, so then again you see other people's light. And I feel bad because there are some people that I'm thinking of who, just like you said, why is she happy? Why is she excited? Why is she this? Why is she that? They are so wound up in their own misery that they expect everyone else to be miserable. And when everyone else is not miserable, they can't understand it. So of course, no, they would not get our free and joyous, expression, because they're just so wrapped up in the physical, shallow part of what's going on. It's very sad. That's why we need to do more meditation. And I would love to do a psychotherapy analysis. I would totally be one of those people who would like, let's analyze my dreams and figure out what's wrong with me and why I tick the way I do.
Yeah, it's fun. It's deeply powerful, but it's a lot of fun to go through your unconscious and unravel it and see what's keeping your conscious mind, the creation mind, from doing what you want to do, like getting to the heart of your desires and then seeing what's fogging up that window. Like, it's worth it. It's so worth it.
And whatever it is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I haven't been to a psychoanalyst, but studying these topics.
I got you. I was gonna say you have. It sounded like you did, so I'm glad you said that.
It's like, all right, I'll do it.
That's awesome, right? But it doesn't matter like how much work or like how much you don't want to let go, from your comfort zone. Whatever it is that you're going to gain is going to be so much more that you're going to look back at your old comfort zone and be like, why was I so scared to let go? What was I holding on to so hard? Nothing. You weren't holding on to anything. You were just a big scaredy cat, big scaredy pussy. Yeah. You get on, move on with your life. And I love that she gives us some questions. She says, here's some ways to think about it. What has happened to my soul voice? What are the buried bones of my life? And what condition is my relationship to the instinctual self? When was the last time I ran free? How can I make life come alive again? Where has La Loba gone to? I think some of those questions will really go over the head of a lot of people who aren't, on this path already. And because I think that just goes back to the fact that truth can only be revealed to when you are ready, right? And because these are questions, these are not eye window questions. These are soul core questions. Like, when was the last time I ran free? Like, taking that question and really thinking about it, because I don't run for shit. Ain't nobody chasing me. I don't. But when was the last time that I can remember physically acting free or being free and moving my body freely? I don't think I can remember the last time. Like, I need to go through all of these questions, and I'm so glad. Hey, didn't I say that she was going to give us practical ways to do this? Didn't I say that? I totally did. I totally manifested that. I totally knew that that was coming. I'm speaking that into existence right now.
Yes, I love it. You did say that. So everyone, pause your video, write these questions down. You have homework. Answer them for yourself. Do it. Try it.
No, exactly. Get to the core of yourself. If you're a man, get to the core of your cojones. Okay.
Get down in there, fellas.
Oh man, that's funny. I was like, wait a minute. I think I know where this is. Oh gosh.
Oh, yeah. So good.
Oh gosh, this has been so good. Is there anything else? I feel like there was one more thing that I underlined, because I was like highlighting and underlining as we went.
Yeah, I know. I feel like there was one part that I really that stood out. Like, we might have already talked about it.
That's okay. We can go back and we can remind ourselves if we did or not.
I think the only thing that I would probably consider is, this self must have freedom to move, to speak, to be angry, and to create. I think this book and these archetypes kind of challenge our ideas of freedom and what it means to be wild. Yes, the wild woman wants to yell and scream and shout and be loud. But I think you'll also find that she has a wisdom and a knowing on when to do that. Because I've seen too many women who are like, I'm being my authentic self. And it's like, no, you're just being a bitch. Right. Is that who you are? Are you a bitch? Are you a wolf or a bitch?
Right. There's a big difference. There is a big difference.
Big difference. So I think challenge, but I think that these questions lead you into what true freedom is.
Yeah.
And what that means.
Oh, I love that. I definitely love that, because you're right. I totally agree with you. There are so many women who think that they're living their fullest lives, right? And have so much more potential that they're not living up to, because they've been told that, this is as far as they can go. When and they're looking, up, when we need to be looking down. We need to be looking inside. We need to be looking to us. We don't need any outside influences. None. Wherever we got that from, that has definitely been instilled into us women, but we don't need to look outside. We need to, and we know the freedom. We know when we can do that stuff. And I think we get even more emotional when we repress ourselves and we know that we shouldn't. Because I know I do. I'm definitely getting better. Like, I'm trying to get better at catching myself, because I definitely don't react because I'm so worried about the other person, and I don't want them to think that I'm angry or mad or whatever. I don't want them to be worried. Whatever. If I'm mad, I am allowed to be mad in that instance. If I am sad, I am allowed to be sad in that instance. Like, they can't control my reaction, and me controlling my reaction for them does not help them or me. We're both repressed, and we're both, just stopped up and not moving forward. And like, this is what it's talking about. Wow, that is really, really good, Rachel. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, no, thank you for expanding on it, because that's the truth. And I think, I mean, even in my own life, I've caught myself doing that. Like, I can't feel this way.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I can absolutely feel the way that I feel, and
Yes.
how I respond is up to me. But
Yes.
that's the mastery. That is
Mm-hmm.
real self-control. You know,
Mm-hmm.
not this hindering control that so
Mm-hmm.
many people do. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
that's, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I still work on that. So
Mm-hmm. It's a daily thing, right? I think that's
yeah,
another thing that we need to make sure that we say that, because while we're here on earth, there is no such thing as reaching perfection or getting there or, and it being done growing. Every day you are in the present, you have the opportunity to move and grow. And so as long as you're doing what you can today to move forward, you've done everything you need to. At least that's what I'm trying to remind myself, is that I don't need to worry about how I'm not perfect for tomorrow, or how I didn't do perfect yesterday. All I need to do is my best today to the best of my ability, and I will take the rest as it comes, and know that that is enough, right? That what I have to give is valuable. It is, something worthy of whatever it is, and to give it and put it out there and then feel satisfied, right? Gosh, I think that there's a lot. I think a lot of women can relate to that they might not feel satisfied after putting it out there, because there's still that doubt that should they have, maybe they didn't, they never get that satisfied feeling. They never get that happy feeling because they're still over analyzing, overthinking, they never get that freedom. So I appreciate this book, and I appreciate La Loba, because where has my La Loba gone? Where did she go? Where are some of my bones? Where is she picking up my sanity from? Let me go ahead and silent for a minute so that I can bring that back. I think that all ties in together.
yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because I was rereading this last night, and it hit me hard that that's what I was doing. My husband and I
Hmm.
are making our own mead, and I had a little bit of an emotional, mental resistance, because I'd had this idea to do this, years ago when I was drinking a little bit more. And
Hmm.
it's not about the alcohol for me.
Hmm.
It's more special and beautiful for that. You know,
Hmm.
we prayed and we blessed over everything all the
Hmm.
ingredients that went into this. It was so beautiful. And I
That's
was sitting
amazing.
there, and there's this part of me like, but I don't like to drink as much anymore. And should I even be doing this? And I'm like, hold on.
Right.
Yeah. You had a big idea.
Hmm.
You were excited about this. Give
Hmm.
yourself that excitement. You're doing the thing.
Yes.
You
Yes.
couldn't do it before because where you were
Yes.
living, you weren't set up, or you didn't have this, that, and the other thing. Your perspective
Yes.
shifted. I'm like, but they've shifted into a better place now. I have a
Hmm.
better view on mead, on alcohol, and maybe I
Hmm.
don't drink as much anymore. But this is
Hmm.
something that I'm making with intention, with blessed ingredients. This is a fun thing that my husband and I could do together, that we have to wait to enjoy. You know,
Yeah.
we're going to leave
Yeah.
this for, I think this first batch we might leave for the year or the summer. We made a summer batch, so at least six
Nice.
months.
Yeah.
So, but that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's like recognizing when you're picking the bones up. You know, do
Yes.
you know what the bones are? And do you
Hmm.
know when you picked them up? I was like, oh, I picked up some bones.
That's
This is what I
awesome.
did.
Yes, yes. And it was a beautiful moment, right? That realization that I
Yeah,
understand myself a little bit better. Oh, I finally caught myself in the moment. Like this, I'm growing. It's beautiful. Like you could finally like enjoy, like
like,
you said, that decision that you made. You made that decision, you took action on it. Don't take it back. No,
yeah.
stand firm in that action because you did it. Oh, I love that, Rachel. I'm so happy for you. You found your bones. That's great. I'm gonna have to get some of that mead though.
Oh, I want to send some out to friends. Like, definitely make some, and make enough for everyone. You
That's
can't
amazing.
make
I
it and
haven't
not do
tried.
it.
Oh God, right? Seriously. And mead. Well, tell me. I'm sorry. This is definitely a sidebar, you guys, but I
No,
need to know. Mead. What is the difference, I guess, between mead and beer? Because is it like fruit, right?
It's honey.
Honey.
Yeah, so beer is like wheats and grains,
Okay.
and like hops specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But mead is made from honey, so it's going to be really sweet. We put a bunch of fruit in it just
Okay.
because we got excited.
Cool.
Can flavor it. So I was like, we need to do at least one batch where we don't do anything to it.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah,
Mead
it's
is honey.
honey.
I did not know that. I did not know that. So fermented honey. And what do you like? What do you soak it in?
I think we just ended up boiling. Last night we boiled 9 pounds. We made a huge batch. We boiled
Oh
9
wow.
pounds of honey, and
Okay.
added
Okay.
some. I mean, you give it a little bit of something for it to ferment with, some yeast. So we just use
Okay.
champagne yeast, and the
Okay.
yeast is bubbling and eating the sugar, and it's expanding, and it's
Wow.
cool. It's really
That is
fun.
cool science. That's awesome. That's really cool. I'm sorry for that sidebar, you guys, but I heard that she was making some cool. I had to know how she did it. I had to know the process. So, in case
Easy.
everybody wanted to know about me, there you go. Oh man. But I think I might have a picking up the bones moment too, because I'm doing more creative stuff in my business, and even the fact that I'm doing a business in general, and the fact that that is, and it's an art thing too, where I'm actually creating or painting, for specific individuals, like to give it to people. Like that's something way new for me. Definitely not in my comfort zone, but something that I'm enjoying, and like I think that's for me a bone that I have found, because I'm sticking with it and I'm proud of myself. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that I found a bone too. We're both moving
Yes.
forward in the world.
Yeah, I'd say so. Shoot, and that artistic expression is a big bone a lot of people lose.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, I'm
mm-hmm.
so proud of you, and I'm so excited. You are so gorgeous. I had no idea you were doing so much beautiful.
Oh my gosh, thank
And
you.
I'm like, what is this
Yay!
intricate designs? Like my intricate brain. Like,
I'm so glad. That's exactly what I
yeah,
wanted, because your creations, like everybody's creations, are one of a kind. They can never really be duplicated, and that's something that I'm trying to give. Everyone is different. I want to individualize it to that person, because that makes it easy for me, right? Because I think it's more difficult to do a one size fits all than it is to individualize things for people and give people what they want, or give things that people can relate to, because I mean I think that's just better. It's just so much better, because there is no such thing as one size fits all. So thank you for your encouragement, Rachel. I appreciate you, and I actually really do appreciate you, because I see you as someone who is super artistic, and like you're like an artist, like you're like an intermediate artist, and I'm like a pre-K artist.
not even.
And I know there's
Probably
no
scale
such
those up
thing.
more.
You talked about that with Michelle on your on her stream. You were like, people think that they're not good at it, and I'm just like, go paint with your fingers and you'll figure it out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Rachel, you're giving me life. I'm gonna go paint my candles. Like that's how I felt. That was awesome. Oh man. So we totally got off subject after the wild woman, but I think it
Not even.
all ties in, you guys. That was chapter 1. Let me go back and reread the chapter that we had. It was called The How, the Resurrection of the Wild Woman. We talked about La Loba, which was the bone woman, and we talked about the rabbis, the 4 rabbis. Talked about finding your spirit, finding your core, who you are, taking the time to have the faith in yourself to move forward, have that peace, hold that peace that you found what you were looking for. That was the rabbi story, because once they got with it, those bones, some of them went crazy, some of them, just went off the rails. But once you get your bones that you can use it to the fullest of your ability, yeah, that's what she said. She said at the end of this chapter, she said, go gather your bones. Now that you know, go get them. So Rachel and I both have Absa bones, but we're going to get some more bones, because that's all this reality is. It's collecting more and more and more accumulation for advancement to freedom. I love it. Was there anything else you wanted to wrap up about this chapter, Miss Local Goddess?
I think that was a beautiful wrap up. Yeah, I think she's the deep end, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. What you to the wolf and to the woman that is just getting right into it. She's not gonna pussyfoot around.
No pussyfooting. Not on this stream. No. We got the real deal going on here. So next week we're going to be at the real green room, because this is the green room extended, and we will be doing chapter 2. Chapter 2 is rather long, so we haven't decided whether or not we're going to split it up into 2 weeks, or how we're going to do that, but it will be aired and posted on Rachel's channel on Odyssey. So that is where you can go and find that next week. So Rachel, thank you so much for being here with me and for discussing this. I have really enjoyed this, and I love just the communion that we both have on this stream. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for hosting. I love it.
Hey, all right. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.